Good day, everybody. It's 30th of December, 2025. It's Tuesday, and it is almost noon here in Minsk, Belarus. And few events happened, I guess. Actually, one event happened, and one of them, actually, it's both of these things are just, revealing about what is really going on. I mean, it's like an illumination of some sort of truths that we've actually been waiting for. And it's pretty incredible. And of course, the first one, and it's like, I didn't get this until this morning. You guys, if you're in the United States or maybe Australia, you probably got this a lot earlier about this. It was an attempt to kill Vladimir Putin, but the intelligence was faulty, and Vladimir Putin was not at the place where they thought they were going to try to kill him, and it didn't come close anyway. And the other one is that once again, Candace Owens has been proved right, and you have everybody trying to go after, well, it's not everybody, of course, but a lot of people that want to establish prominence in the, I guess, podcaster business or something, and they're trying to take down Candace Owens. And I don't know, like I keep saying I've been saying it for years, literally I've been saying this for years, that, you start a debate with Candace Owens, you're going to lose. I don't even know if it matters what kind of facts you have, but Candace Owens, it was the new expression that came out, Candace Owens keeps receipts. So she's got receipts. But on this case, it's like a few times she doesn't really have receipts. And she didn't even come out. It's about this interview, and I'll be talking about that a little bit more. But first, let's talk about this other big news with Ukraine. And apparently it is Zelensky personally. I tell you what, it looks like he is personally behind this. And they say that there is no doubt that there is foreign intelligence involved with this. And already a lot of people are saying, oh, it's got the fingerprints of MI6. And normally it's the British that are trying to, aid Ukraine and, and the intelligence. They're SBU, and they're trying to, kill as many Russians as they possible. I mean, basically said, as you know, Lindsey Graham and Kaya Kallas and all these people say that the big goal is to kill Russians. And they and along with this, I guess when Donald Trump heard about this attempt, he said, thank God we didn't give them Tomahawks, the missiles. But, you think about it, it's not that the Tomahawks are such an awesome piece, not such a, it's a bigger and more powerful missile, but it's slower. It's probably much easier to spot, and it would be easier to shoot down. And it's probably a lot more expensive. So it's not like, apparently they had 91 drones, and you can't send 91 Tomahawks. And, Russia would have shot them down. But the problem would be, since they're much bigger missiles, there would have been some damage and maybe even casualties when Russia actually shot down these, dinosaur Tomahawk missiles, And I think Putin, the reason why he didn't want to and said it would, really harm the relationship that is getting reestablished between the United States and Russia, is mostly because it's symbolic. That these weapons, that if they do get through, they cause quite a bit more destruction, and they can carry nuclear warheads. And that's one thing also Putin had said, is that how do we know? So when we have something like that coming in, and Russia would have to redo their entire nuclear triad, because they have automatic systems that would say, how are they going to adjust that? How are they going to know if it's nuclear or isn't nuclear? And the system, their protection system, would automatically say it's nuclear, and that would trigger nuclear response from Russia. So that was something you wouldn't want to get into anyway. And luckily, Donald Trump made the right decision, and you can even tell by his answer after he heard that Putin was getting shot at. They're trying to assassinate him. He said, "Thank God we didn't give them Tomahawks." So let's see. Let's go back here, and it's a very strange thing. It was done, I guess, this attempt. And all day yesterday, I never saw that in any Russian news, and I was watching the news, and I stopped kind of watching things, some of the new ads that keep coming up, and they keep coming up constantly, and I try to keep up on all of them. And it's a huge task trying to keep up on all this new news that they keep putting out on some of these networks. I can't follow all of them. I would have to be sitting there permanently, and it would be more than like an 8-hour-a-day job following all of these different news networks and things like that. I don't do that. I spend way too much time anyway. But so I was missing that. And like I said, you guys got it a lot earlier. But I might have a few new pieces of information that you guys did not hear, and it came out over here, and it is even verified through the United States about this. Because initially, there's people putting out news saying, well, how do we know it's not a false flag, that Russia didn't do this? And I was even thinking that. I was said, that is very possible. And I said, that would explain why it was not put out over here in the news immediately. And like it said, they just cooked it up some hours later, a fake story, in order to justify maybe Russia not wanting peace or something. I mean, believe me, that went through my head. But the evidence proves otherwise, and it has always been pointing to the fact that it is the EU in particular that does not want to end this war. And if you think of the reasons why they don't want to end this war, well, they're not wasting any lives, and they wouldn't give a damn if they were anyway. It's the serfs. They'll send the serfs. That's the poor people. They'll be sending the regular rank and file of Europeans to go die, under Russian artillery and Orishnik missiles and things, which they certainly would die. And even the money, well, they don't care either. They are all rich. They've got tremendous golden parachutes. And of course, a lot of them established them by sending this money to Ukraine from their own taxpayers as well as from American taxpayers. And you're a little bit for me, there's a fee, you got to pay a little fee, when I facilitate you getting all of this money. And then as it goes down the chain, before it gets to the front lines, wherever this aid or weapons are going to go to, everybody's taking their cut. The leadership in Ukraine and this branch in Ukraine and all this. And I think I remember originally, and you guys might have remembered this too, that they were saying approximately only 30% of the assets that they are spending on to defend Ukraine actually went to defending Ukraine. And 70% was all siphoned off on the way to getting there. It's not a very good prospect to be thinking about it. But I'll get into a lot of this stuff anyway. I won't get into that anymore, but I just use that as a side note. Hopefully I'm not going to make this video over an hour, but it's probably going to go that way. Okay, 91 drones, and it was directed at the president's state residency in Novgorod, and they had some faulty information. It kind of makes you wonder, maybe the British intelligence is not that great. Now, normally they've had very, very good intelligence, the British. They're some of the best, Mossad, MI6, and CIA. Well, CIA, they're actually a lot better at sabotage, but they're also very good in this information gathering and things. And it's very strange, when you follow this stuff for a long period of time and even have known people involved in that sort of a deal, you start to see, well, where is the knack of this country and that? And the French, they're pretty good at certain other things as far as in the combat role. In my day in the military, the French were the ones, you would never guess, but the French were better than the Americans. They were better than the Germans. And of course, the Russians, that was the enemy. So, it wasn't compared. But as far as the Western allies, the French were the ones that were winning in, exercises that we were, involved in. And that's what I was always told by the guys that were actually in, competition with that, in our unit. And some things I did see and I didn't. And I was, like I mentioned, it was a big exercise in Holland, went there. But I was not involved with the rank and file at that time. I was assigned directly to the general and things. So, and I didn't hear so much, it's so strange. Sometimes depending on who, and the rank and how well you get along with a lot of officers in some of the units that you're in, you get a lot more intelligence down at the unit level than you do when you're working at the very top, So it's just very strange, Anyway, I'll get more into this news anyway. So But yeah, I looked up a little bit of history on Novgorod, and I knew that that was a very, very key city, and it was at one time maybe the capital of Russia. But it turns out that I've been giving you guys some fake information, and it's based on fake information from opposition type people, especially like from Ukraine, and of course it's a lot of stuff that is spread around here, and it's even in American history books as well. But Kiev was not the first capital of Russia, as I have said. It was actually Novgorod. That was before Kiev, even though it was still like part of Kievan Rus, which is a very strange thing. And I was starting to think, well, does this Kievan Rus, does this refer to the church? So as you remember, back in the days of Europe, you had a power that was part of the church, and you have a power that was part of the kings. And like even trying to figure out who the Holy Roman Emperor would be back in those Middle Ages, there was a vote. So you had these votes, and the people voting would be called the electors. And a lot of studies I did, was the great elector of Brandenburg, which was Frederick William, and he was well ahead of his time, and he invented something that America copied, and they call it in America the Pony Express, and America invented it. Well, anyway, Frederick William had that 200 and some years before the United States. No, how dare you say that? The United States invents everything. So maybe they went back in time and they actually invented it so back and then. But anyway, you guys all know the Pony Express, when you hand off mail from one horse to the other, and by the time it gets to the next one, the horse is tired, so you hand it off to somebody, the mail to somebody that had a fresh horse, and and they ride really fast, and they give it to the next one, and it keeps going, so that you can get a mail service, across a long distance of time, and a long distance in a short period of time. And the German, actually even today, the German post is known for very, very efficiency. You can send a letter from the southern tip of Germany, and it will get to the northern tip of Germany within 24 hours. And that's just a regular letter. And in the United States, and I've seen even countries, believe it or not, I tell you what, it takes nearly a week sometimes to get a letter from your house to the house across the street, And the United States is, of course, inefficient. I mailed a postcard once from Italy, and it took over a month to get to Germany. And I I don't know. So other mail services, Germany is pretty awesome. I'll just say it and leave it at that. So, but anyway, this ancient history stuff, it's always fascinating and trying to compare it to today. And a lot of times things were working a lot better in the old days, even hundreds of years ago, such as medicine. There were things of medicine that would actually cure people. And it's like, oh, we forgot. Now you just get something that cures the symptoms, but it doesn't cure the sickness anymore. You guys all know about that. Rockefellers and petrochemical, pharmaceutical, and things like there's a big scam going out. A lot of people are even saying that, we're talking about how much money goes to the Israeli lobby every year. And of course, it's a guaranteed at least a minimum of $4 billion. But you don't know that there's vastly more money goes to the pharmaceutical industry. And that's why we have people like Anthony Fauci, Science is embodied in one human being called Anthony Fauci. He told you that, so he can't be lying. Anyway, let me keep going. I'm getting way off the subject here. So anyway, Novgorod was the capital pretty much of the Roman Empire back in those days. It was about in the year 862, and I think Charlemagne was still running around in Europe and all that, and Germany was still, let's see, over 1,000 years from becoming a country, and under the Prussians. That was 1870 under Bismarck. The Russian Foreign Ministry has announced that from now on, after this attack by practically Zelensky personally, along with whoever was involved, and like I said, a lot of people say it was the British. Normally, the British are the ones that do a lot of the attacks. They're mostly always involved in all of these attacks, especially against civilians in Russia. It's very sad, I mean, a lot of British even know that. And oftentimes there's CIA is involved, and they maybe sometimes play a junior role. I mean, that's how you, if you're following all this stuff and you're just hearing about the scuttlebutt about how this is all about. And I think even Larry Johnson, if you guys see him in a lot of videos, he even tells you a lot about this stuff. You see like Rachel Blevin and all that. And in spite of what you're seeing that Donald Trump sort of reaching out to Russia and establishing better relationship, it's like, it's not exactly what you think it is. So a lot of people are very wise onto this. Brian Berletic is a big proponent of it. So many people. But the Russians are trying to look at it at face value and saying, okay, the United States, we'll try to be friends and maybe something real genuine will come out of it, instead of the United States, saying, I'm your friend. Here, take this knife in your belly. Anyway. But the British, of course, they've got a knife in both hands. But anyway, the foreign ministry announced through Lavrov that the government of Russia is going to look at the Kiev regime much more differently now. It's going to be a regime, it's going to be like a terrorist entity rather than even a regime. It's like a terrorist entity. And the repercussions, the implications of this is going to be noticed probably in the very, very near future. And Russia has said that there is going to be reverberations from this attempted assassination. Wow, it's going to be something. And it's sort of like, if you don't think that it's possible that the CIA would be involved in this, and remember that Donald Trump was trying to apparently reach out to Iran. They were negotiating sort of a peace deal. And right in the middle of that, what I said, and maybe it's not quite accurate, I'm not even sure, but right in the middle of that, the United States started bombing Iran in the middle of peace negotiations. And Iran has always dealt with any peace negotiations with anybody in good faith, and they've always adhered to what they agree to, what they sign up to. And it's whoever in the West that is supposed to be also a party to that agreement, they're the ones that have reneged on it every time. And it's like, I think the Iranians know very well that, the last thing you want to do is to try to sign any sort of a peace with Israel, because Israel, they don't adhere to any kind of agreement. Whatever suits them on that day, they will do. So, but anyway, they probably thought that the United States would be genuine, and it's always turned out the other way, and according to Donald Trump. And no wonder that they don't trust the United States at all. I would wonder why any Palestinians would trust the United States, any of the Palestinian authorities. And the only problem is, it's because they have to. Even Hamas probably knows that it's not genuine. And we're told a lot of things about Hamas. And if you're following this stuff and you're very savvy on what news is going on in the world, I mean, a lot of you on this channel do, you know that Hamas is not guilty of much of anything of what they're being accused of. Maybe not any of it at all. And you all know about the Hannibal Directive from October 7th, 2023 of Israel. So I don't even go into that. So it's also like you can see Donald Trump's fingerprints on that. But I'm not saying Donald Trump had anything to do with it, but I'm just saying, well, it's a little bit of a suspicion. Here you're dealing with peace, and then somehow something scuttles it. But it wasn't Donald Trump that tried to kill Zelensky, even though we all know that the United States intelligence still has their fingers entwined, and they're the ones that trained the Ukrainians, and that the British are still working with Ukrainian intelligence very adamantly. They're very much still involved, and they have even a base in Odessa. I've mentioned that. I mean, you guys have probably heard that enough times all over the place. Yes. So Russia knows that it was foreigners' fingerprints involved in it, and specifically they say British. Yeah. But I think Russia is going to ignore anything that maybe even looks like the United States is involved in it because of them trying to establish better relationships with the United States. And of course, they've enticed Donald Trump with talking about their resources and, the United States making money on the resources of Russia. And of course, that got Donald Trump's attention. So that's mostly what's behind a lot of Donald Trump's desire to reach a peace agreement. Probably a little bit is saving lives. I don't know about Donald Trump, or maybe he doesn't seem to be very interested in what's going on in the Middle East and saving lives down there, at least not of the brown-skinned people, the Palestinians and all that, are sadly enough. But one strange thing is, apparently, and the Russians are saying this, that these drones were launched immediately, and we're talking in less than an hour after Zelensky's talks with Trump, after these meetings. Less than an hour. So, I don't know. Zelensky might have already been on the plane. Maybe he made that call and said, okay, do it. And then he got on the plane. And maybe it's to look like, oh, I was on the plane. I don't know. Maybe he can contact from the plane. I don't know. Yeah, and for the most part, apparently, at least the Russians are saying that Zelensky is very upset that Trump did not want to have a ceasefire first. And as you all know what that ceasefire is about, the ceasefire is about the EU shoveling massive amounts of soldiers and equipment into Ukraine to continue the war against Russia. Obviously, and everybody knows that. That's exactly what they did with the Minsk agreements, and they even admitted to it. The French and the Germans, as well as the Ukrainians, admitted that. That was the entire thing. And they were trying to do it again. Oh, well, it worked the first time. The Russians are stupid. The Russians aren't going to fall for that. And they said, no, we're not going to go with a ceasefire. And apparently, Trump's message was very clear to Zelensky. And I don't know what the exact words were, but apparently paraphrasing, it was like, don't even try to ask for a ceasefire, is virtually what Donald Trump said to Zelensky. So don't even try to go for a ceasefire. And of course, that really pissed off Zelensky. Word is out about that. And maybe even at that time is when Zelensky somehow made some communications, maybe through somebody else. You know how if Zelensky's going to call, the phone lines are going to be tapped. There's no doubt about it. So Zelensky obviously has agents over there. And you tell somebody else whose phone is not being listened to, even though the Israelis, if you guys have been following this stuff for many years, the Israelis can listen in on any phone call in America. And if they even think that somebody is aligned with Zelensky, they're going to be listening to those phones. And I'll back up a little bit. I mean, if you guys remember this Monica Lewinsky affair with Bill Clinton, and it's in the transcripts, it's in the court transcripts, that Bill Clinton said to Monica Lewinsky not to be thinking she can say anything on the telephone. He said, because a foreign government is listening in on our telephone calls. And I've known through many other ways that they listen in, and there are different ways to do that. And I knew even long before it was discovered that the United States was listening in on Angela Merkel's telephone calls. Every time she called and talked to anybody on the phone, Obama, had access to everything and everyone she talked to on the telephone. I had a one guy that I knew when I was in class to learn, to be dental technician. And he had a shop, and he had a lot of Indian. He was a well-off guy. He didn't need to go to school because he had a lot of money, and he was really big into lots of things, hardware and software, into computers. That was his life. He was a handsome kind of young guy. He didn't look like any kind of a guy you'd call a nerd, but anyway, he wasn't interested in learning dental technician school, and he barely passed. It's because I had like the highest grades, and I got along with him and helped him. He sat next to me, and I on one side, and anyway, and a Russian guy sat next to me on this other side. And this guy was part Polish, by the way. But anyway, they I remember even getting our diplomas, and it was a lot of people, hundreds of people in this big hall. Maybe over 1,000 people. And when we were walking out, one of the teachers congratulated me. And this guy was next to me. And he started saying, but you, because he actually kind of didn't pass the test. But through links and things, they gave him a diploma. But anyway, this guy, he had Indians, online and working for him. And he was always telling me, he told me multiple times, he said, did you know the United States government is listening in on Angela Merkel's telephone calls? And I figured it out anyway. I think, of course they are. I mean, they're listening in on anybody's they want to, probably. But he thought it was kind of big news. And then it comes out, 10 years later, that the United States was listening in on Angela Merkel's telephone calls. And I said, oh, what a big surprise. I don't know. Just to add my 2 cents into that anyway, guys. So, yes, Zelensky has come out and said that Russia is lying, like I said, about this, that Ukraine did not try to. This is going to be a real clincher here, and maybe you guys haven't heard this. So this is some of the new information. So Zelensky is saying that it's a lie and that it's never happened. This never happened. And that Russia has attacked what he called the cabinet of ministers of Ukraine in the past. And I don't even know if that's true, to be honest with you. But it is definitely true that Ukraine has been attacking, trying to kill Putin. There was one time, remember, they shot down some of these other drones, and one drone landed on the roof crashed into the roof of the Kremlin, and that was towards the beginning of that. They've been trying to kill Putin for a long time. Remember the MH370, this Malaysian thing? And some of the news that came out about that, and nobody really talks about it, is, and I don't know what is true and what isn't true. It's similar to this, sending out different signals all over, like the CIA did after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. So nobody can tell what is true and what isn't true. But one of the threads that they had is that there was a pilot. He came out of a fighter jet airplane after this plane was shot down. And apparently it was not shot down by a Buk missile, like they originally claimed, shot from the Donbass, but it was shot down by an air-to-air missile, this airplane. And they're trying to pin this on Putin all the time. And it's like, that's very strange. If Putin did it, how come they don't release the black box that tells us who actually shot this plane down, or that would provide some information to show us who shot this plane down? Oh, lo and behold, But anyway, this fighter pilot, that was long before this war, by the way. He's apparently, there is people that had witnessed this guy coming out of the plane, and they said, oh, I think we shot down the wrong plane. And the reason for that is Vladimir Putin was on his way to some conference at the same time, and the markings, and they show how very similar these planes look. This plane from Vladimir Putin and this plane from this MH370, I guess was the number. And this guy said, I think we shot down the wrong plane. And then there were people that were in the air traffic controllers. And there was one guy from Spain, and he even admitted something very similar. And of course, he was shut up. So that was a lot of stuff. It's a lot of this intelligence stuff, how we're giving these wrong signals, and we're spoon-fed information, and some information is, of course, kept from us. Just like 9/11, there's a lot of people that cover these things, and I truly believe in most of this information is definitely accurate. And I'll get to Candace Owens stuff in a minute, too. So that will be sort of shocking, and there is evidence about that. And of course, they're going to still stick to the same story, Tyler Robinson, and Candace Owens, she has to go to a mental institution. So let's keep going here. So, yeah, it's very well known that they've been trying to kill Putin in different stages and different ways, So let's see. There's video footage of these Ukrainian drones hitting the Kremlin even, at least on a few occasions. But, no, Zelensky said, no, that's not true. Zelensky is saying that this is a fake, that Ukraine did not attack, and that Putin wants to use this as justification for attacking the capital in Kiev. And as you all know, and it's obvious that if Russia wanted to, they could level the entire city of Kiev. And of course, the EU is trying to act like, oh, Russia isn't powerful enough. I don't know if they're just trying to feed Kool-Aid to everybody. So, as Russia has pretty much destroyed most all of the air defenses of Kiev. So, and of course, I mentioned even yesterday that Kiev denies attacking the Zaporozhye power plant, and that it's really Russia attacking their own nuclear power plant because they want it to melt down and have a lot of their people there killed in this attack. Yeah. It's strange that Donald Trump even buys that. I don't know, at least that's how he indicates it. And like I said, some people believe that Donald Trump is just playing around with it, and he knows very well that it was Ukraine doing that. And it's also very possible that he just kind of plays Zelensky a little bit. And Kiev, remember, they also denied attacking the Kerch Bridge. What you might call the Crimean Bridge. And they denied, of course, a lot of time some of those assassinations, like Daria Dugina, and the evidence. I mean, they even know who did it and all that, and where she went and how she went, where she went across the border to get back to Ukraine. I don't know. Did they catch her? I'm not sure. But anyway, I don't think they caught her. But all of these assassinations and things, they're trying to be like Israel, putting bombs into statues and killing bloggers, Anyway. But let's see. I think Zelensky said he believes he might have, and he even said that, I guess, in an interview with this Brett Baer from Fox, I guess. And it was before this event anyway, but it's like, I think he's alluding to the fact that they have powers of persuasion, and that it depends on who is able to convince Trump, to go. And technically speaking, Russia really doesn't need to, but Russia's trying to do everything in the fair way, apparently. And if Donald Trump decided, that Russia is lying and all that, and of course Donald Trump isn't so stupid to start a war with Russia with a lot of nuclear bombs and things, because it eventually will lead to a nuclear war, even though Zelensky really very much wants that, which doesn't make any sense. And maybe these people in the EU want it as well. So, yes. Maria Zakharova, she responded to Zelensky's allegation that Russia is lying. She said, lies are Zelensky's statements about Bucha. Lies are Zelensky's statements about children allegedly stolen by Russia. Lies are Zelensky's statements about the Russian side's unwillingness to negotiate. So all these things have been proven, that Zelensky has been lying about all of these things. So, and it's like, what is it? I don't know. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So, I mean, that's a very good statement to go by. Sounds almost like something Jesus could say, but maybe he did say something in that line. I don't know. But wow. And it's very strange that at about the same time that Zelensky was trying to bomb and kill Putin, that Donald Trump, he bombed a major dock where he said the drugs were being packed onto boats in Venezuela. I don't know about that. He reported that as Netanyahu was there, and apparently Netanyahu has a very, very big stake in the U.S. going to war against Venezuela. And they don't share any love, Venezuelan government or with the Israeli government, and so I don't know. Looking into that stuff, you have to figure it out yourself. I don't know. I'm not that up on that information. Very interesting. Another little piece of information before I get into the Candace Owens thing is it's very strange, because you're finding out, this is very strange news, that in Minneapolis, and Minnesota maybe in general, there's a lot of these child care centers, lots of them, that get a lot of money from federal government for some odd reason. That I don't know if it's state government. I'm assuming because the federal government is getting very much involved in this. Kristi Noem has even weighed in on this. But they have a lot of these child cares centers that have no children. And they're supposed to have like 80 children. And people have been going there doing investigations, various types of people, as well as Homeland Security. And anytime they go there, like the daycare, some of them are supposed to be open till 10 o'clock at night. And it doesn't matter what time you go there. There are no children in these daycares. And definitely some of them, I guess it started out where they're going to Somali daycares, but they're not all even Somali. And it really makes you that it's a huge scam. And it's covering hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of fake childcare centers in Minnesota. And it's like weird. It's like, who is running this big scam? It's absolutely incredible. And you really need an investigation to find out about this stuff. And it really is happening. Yeah. Makes you wonder if they're learning from, a lot of, I told you guys about a lot of this corruption in Ukraine. And it makes you wonder if the United States is learning from some of these methods that Ukraine employs. I'm sure they probably have call centers. That's the one I don't like because it's very rampant over here in say, Russia and Ukraine itself and in Belarus, and probably even beyond that, of these call centers. And somehow they trick people and somehow get into their bank account. And they have definitely, undeniably stolen over $1 billion, I guess, overall. I'm not saying it's one network, but all of these call centers combined have stolen over $1 billion. Hey, it might even be $2 billion. But these people are getting huge, huge sums of money by emptying people's bank accounts. Mostly a lot of old people, that maybe are a little different in their, cognitive abilities, like maybe, I don't know, they probably like Joe Biden-y type of people. And they're just scamming them out of whatever is left of their life savings. They're terrible. And like I said, there's warnings, and it's been like that for way over a year, for 2 years at least here, when you get on buses and things in Belarus, and they have these announcements on the metro and things about scammers trying to get your money. And most of these, of course, are run out of Ukraine, and maybe even in Belarus. Anyway, they can get your money out of your bank account. Probably happening in the United States too. All these lucrative ways to steal your money. I mean, it's not just the government that steals your money. Government and governments, businesses, and who knows what all. What a challenge it is. Andrew Tate even weighed in on a lot of stuff that he said, you better get rich, and you better get rich fast because they're out and to steal a lot of your money. So take my classes. That's basically kind of what he was saying. I'm not saying he's being disingenuous. I have no idea. But wow. So, like I said about the bombing already, during Trump's press conference with Benjamin Netanyahu sitting there, of course, he admitted that for now the U.S. is set on another attack on Iran. He had these strange statements, but he telegraphed very clearly that if things keep going, he's definitely going to make another bombing raid on Iran. Wow. Before he even gets this really going in Venezuela, apparently they bombed a place in Venezuela last week on land. And it's strange that I didn't even hear about it. You didn't hear about it even through Venezuela. I never saw any news. But even though it was a week ago, and it was just like this other one, like this happened, but just the night before last, Trump admitted he bombed a place. So it's getting closer and closer. But Donald Trump, when some reporters were asking him, he started off by saying, I hope Iran is not trying to build up. And he's already convinced himself, based on all of the things that followed that he thinks that Iran is building up maybe nuclear weapons. And a lot of people are saying that Donald Trump was hinting that it's not only the nuclear weapons or something, because Benjamin Netanyahu has been going on for decades and decades. Iran is 1 month away from having a nuclear bomb. It's a long 2 months, or 1 month, or whatever he's saying, And I seem to think they were even talking about this in the 1980s, But a lot of people are saying since 2000. But I think I remember Benjamin Netanyahu when he was much, much younger saying Iran is making a nuclear bomb. And maybe even at that time, Iran was maybe even looking into a nuclear weapons project. But they jettisoned that decades ago. And they said it's whoever is doing that, it's going to be a loser. It's going to be a loser conquest. So they're trying not to. But, even though it's very much like I was telling you the other day that Zionists want people to be anti-Semitic. They want people because that gives them a justification to do the things that they do. And it's almost just like Iran. They want Iran to have a nuclear weapons program so that would justify attacks on Iran. It's like one of those things that they say, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. And a lot of people, I think it was George Galloway and many people are thinking that Iran is silly if they don't try to get nuclear weapons. Because normally you get nuclear weapons and then they start leaving you alone, all these powerful countries. So it's unfortunately turns out to be true. That's why they keep attacking Iran. But Iran, I think they're trying to approach it from a different way. And apparently Iran had met out a huge amount of destruction on Israel, much more than we heard in their counterattack against Israel after Israel attacked them. Absolutely incredible. Okay, keep going here then. But so Donald Trump, he just after then that's when he started showing that he wants to go after Iran, making nukes, and that their missile program, that it's all aimed at Iran's missile program. They already have hypersonic missiles that are very effective apparently against Israel. So I don't really know what they're going to, maybe they just want to get all the missiles that Iran already has. Or is it anything to do with any kind of development? Very fascinating. I don't know. I guess it's like I wasn't a reporter and Donald Trump is not always completely transparent on his answers. So you tell me, I don't know. Yeah. And as far as the IAEA is concerned, and who other evidence that does not exist. There is no evidence that exists to indicate that Iran is making a nuclear bomb. There is zero. It's absolutely zero. And it's very strange in these days and times when they can create fake evidence, just like they were trying to do against George Galloway back then. And they have tried to do, we're talking even over a decade ago, the United States government, the U.S. Congress, tried to do that to Candace Owens, and that's still online. You can see that where Candace Owens just shoves it right down their face, just the same as George Galloway. Oh, these bad people. Yeah. I think it's mostly, of course, Israel wants to keep all these other countries down, and they want to be able to stay in a position where they control the entire Middle East. And they don't want any of these countries to step in their way in their creation of Eretz Israel. And then, of course, through Eretz Israel, Israel also wants to dominate the entire Middle East and control everybody. And who knows, maybe expand out from there, like Space Station number 5. I'll see you next time around. You guys know that from Montrose, called Space Station number 5. And move on out, as they say. I fit like with this long hair like a what is it, a washed up old rock musician or something like that. I think, how old is I forgot his name. You turn the camera on and your memory goes. Who was this founder of Pink Floyd? And I think he's like 80 or something years old, like Mick Jagger, and these guys are still going strong. It's absolutely incredible. Anyway, just to throw that in, because these people absolutely amaze me. Waters. What's his first name? Waters, that started Pink Floyd. And his mind is still absolutely incredible, and he knows what's going on about Israel. So when you talk about Israel and Iran and things like that. You want to say Charlie Waters? Who is Charlie Waters? Roger Waters, that's his name. You are trying to fool me and saying it was Charlie Waters, whoever that is. Anyway, Israel's out to put everybody down, obviously. That's one of the big things. Yeah, and this, I was going to talk a little bit even more about this Brett Baer from Fox News. He interviewed Zelensky, and he asked Zelensky if this war, when it ever ends, if Russia will be allowed to help rebuild Ukraine. And Zelensky's answer tells you volumes. It tells you volumes. It tells you all about Zelensky and all of the things that you thought about Zelensky. It just verifies them all. And Zelensky said, his answer was, they have to give us money, so I can build more houses. No, they have to give us money, and we will decide on what to do. We don't want any strings attached. Just give me money, and yeah, we will decide. We're supposed to not know. I don't know. Obviously, Zelensky just wants a blank check. He wants all of this money, and that they will decide on how to allocate that money on rebuilding Ukraine. And of course, Russia's not going to do that. I mean, I don't think anybody would do that at this point. Oh, maybe the European Union. It's like making you wonder, what the heck? It's proven over and over again from so many people, multiple people, and it's undeniable that they steal huge amounts of money, endlessly stealing money over. I mean, small officials, police chiefs of some small towns, they end up having huge estates and villas and things with Rolls Royces, and it's like, what the heck is going on here? It's like, oh gosh dang. Oh, maybe I had cryptocurrency or something like that. Anyway, I think you have to be crazy to give a blank check to Zelensky. I think Japan did that the other day. It's like, did they never learn anything? I mean, are their eyes open? It's unbelievable. You guys all know that. So, and I think there was actually some other things that Zelensky where did I put that in there? No, I think that's still coming. But, we're not supposed to recognize the fact that it was West Ukraine that started the war in 2014 against Eastern Ukraine. They started bombing them and killing them. And Petro Poroshenko even admitted that on the radio. It was the predecessor of Zelensky. And it's weird that they come out and even admit these things, that they were bombing and they killed up to before Russia even entered this in 2022, at the end of February 2022, Kiev, Western Ukraine, had already killed 13,000 of their own people in Western Ukraine. Eastern Ukraine bombing the West. And you could say, it's a civil war. Putin shouldn't have got involved in it. But traditionally and through most of history, that area has always belonged to Russia. And that was Lenin in 1917. He gifted it to Ukraine, just like so many other Soviet leaders. And a lot of them, believe me, were Ukrainian. But they hated us. Oh, they were punishing us during the Soviet Union. So these Ukrainian leaders of the Soviet Union were punishing Ukraine by giving us all of this land and treating us like spoiled children, and giving us parts of other countries so that we became this really huge country called Ukraine. Instead of being a region, we became a country because they were so bad to us. It sounds like Israel in a lot of ways, doesn't it? Oh, we're the victims here. Oh, man. It's kind of like the stuff that was going on during the Biden stuff in America, like the Black Lives Matter and all that sort of thing. It's really weird about the Black Lives Matter movement. They killed more black people than any other movement. Really strange. And primarily black children, Kind of reminds me of Gaza, But it was the Black Lives Matter movement that arranged that. Or remember the new Jesus? What's this guy, George Floyd, this drug dealer, porno actor that robbed people at gunpoint, that took drugs when he saw in his rearview mirror when the policemen were coming up behind him, he saw them and he took the drugs really fast, like he has done in the past. and thinking he's going to go to the hospital and get his stomach pumped to get it removed before they affect him, because the guy sitting next to him wanted this fentanyl, but he was doing a drug deal right at that time, and he took all this. And Candace Owens even exposed that, but it was even exposed before that. They even have the real footage of a lot of this stuff. And you have George Floyd standing up. He's standing up. He's not on the ground with anybody's knee in his neck saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Before that even happens. Yeah, well, I guess you took a lot of fentanyl, and I guess that is one of the things that can happen to you. But oh, no, we ignore all that. No, it was from this guy putting his knee on the guy's neck, which is standard practice, apparently, in police officers. When you don't have enough. And this is a big guy. George Floyd was a huge guy, and this other guy, Derek Chauvin, he only had some kind of a beginner or rookie with him. And basically, you kind of had to do this. And this guy was resisting arrest, George Floyd. He would not get into the police car. I mean, it was a huge amount of things. But don't look at that evidence. Don't look at any of that evidence, because it doesn't work in our favor. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. Let me see. So we're not supposed to know that Ukraine was bombing and killing their own people, it was their own people at that time. Oh, wait a minute, it wasn't Saddam Hussein killing, and what about Bashar Assad killing his own, some of that stuff is fake, but anyway, this was not fake. Dead bodies are dead bodies, just like Saddam Hussein, when he gassed his own village with U.S. gas that the United States gave him, this illegal gas, for killing people that the United States gave to him to kill his own people. But these people were actually that Saddam Hussein killed, they had a loyalty towards Iran. This was right near the border of Iran, and Saddam Hussein didn't like that, and so he was getting rid of these people with the help of the United States. It's strange, the United States never even mentioned the fact that Saddam Hussein did this for at least a decade. They didn't mention it until the Iraq War started, because I think when Donald Rumsfeld gave this gas to Saddam Hussein, it was quite a bit. That was when they were buddies with the United States and Saddam Hussein against Iran. It's history, absolutely incredible stuff you can find out when you're studying history, I guess. But God forbid, don't learn the truth, Yeah. So, yeah, they killed 13,000 before Russia entered the war and started trying to defend these ethnically Russian people from these Nazis. Yeah. Strange that even in the United States, at the very beginning, they were even admitting this stuff. They were admitting that Ukraine was an incredibly corrupt country. But right after that, maybe the Biden years, I don't know when they started changing their story. So the new information about these drones that you guys are waiting for, and this is some of the new stuff. These drones that thought they were killing Putin. What an error in intelligence. Putin wasn't even there. It is even now verified by U.S. satellite data. So the United States has this data, whether they're going to try to hide it, but it still exists. Even on some of the Russian satellites. Oh, but it's the Russians. You can't believe them. But I think at this point in time, Donald Trump, maybe if it was Biden, you're never going to hear that. They're just going to hide all that evidence. Like they hide a lot of satellite evidence. But maybe Donald Trump, if it's not hidden from him by his own intelligence, which apparently these things probably are, it's on United States satellite data. And I think Russia might have even recorded it. They might have found this and recorded it. But anyway, it's very well known. So the satellites saw these drones moving on Novgorod. Wow. And it shows where they were launched from, that they were coming from Ukraine. Even some of them went over Smolensk, which is, I don't know, is it a 2 hours or hour and a half here from Minsk, from right here? I don't even know where those were launched from. I'm wondering if it was launched from Estonia or somewhere from within Russia, because, they pay a lot of people in Russia to be traitors against their own country, and they offer them a large sum of money and with a down payment, nobody's going to be stupid. We'll say, you give me a 50,000, and it's little money when you think about the implications about what these people are doing. Oh, you give me whatever, maybe 20,000 now and give me 20,000 later. So, having to spend life in prison, Russia doesn't have the death penalty. God forbid they ever do that in Belarus. We do have the death penalty in this country. I don't know how often it has been invoked, but they have it here. And that's one reason why there's a lot of this terrible crime does not really happen in Belarus. So anyway, so yeah, what else? Now let's get to Candace Owens. These people attacking Candace Owens, this is going to be the last thing I'll talk about. They've also had a big, major setback. Remember when Candace Owens had this guy on, and she never even said, oh, I believe this 100% or nothing like that, but there was a person who went to a military base. He was trying to find out about his status as a veteran and maybe trying to get some of his benefits back and all that. So he went to this Fort Huachuca down in Arizona, and while he was there, he almost swears that he saw Erica Kirk because he said, because of her eyes, she has very startling eyes. And he said he remembered her from that, even though he didn't really follow the Charlie Kirk stuff at all. But I think afterwards he saw and he said, that was that woman that I saw there and all that. Her hair was worn in a ponytail, how she actually wears it. And he even saw footage of her wearing it. And then he knew but he says, he's still qualifying that by saying 95% positive. And but there was this other person that's part of TPUSA, or maybe that was the 95% positive that he saw that guy. But anyway, one of this, either that guy or Erica Kirk, he says he's 99% sure because there's always a chance, that you could be wrong. But anyhow, and it was a big deal, and they took him away for questioning for a long time because of something very sensitive happening on that military base. And I don't know what kind of a base that is. Maybe they mentioned it, but I'm not even sure. I'm assuming it's a small base. And but a lot of people are trying to say, oh, this guy is a fake. And they look back 20 years that somehow some woman accused him, or maybe a couple women, I don't know. I don't know if no rape, nothing like that, but I don't even know that maybe he propositioned them or something like that. I have no idea. But it was 20 years before that. And it turns out that these women that were accusing him, they have a record of accusing other men. So, gold diggers. I don't know what money this guy has, apparently. But, there was a lot of these people accusing Trump, and then they dropped it. Finding, that they actually were just trying to get a lot of money from Donald Trump, because there's a lot of people that would pay hush money, to say, I'm innocent, but it takes so much money to even prove that you're innocent. And what are you going to get? What are you going to get from a poor person that has accused you of something and you find out that they are proven wrong? You're not going to get anything from them. You can't squeeze blood out of a turnip, I guess is the expression. So a lot of these people will pay somebody off a little bit of money just to shut up instead of them having to pay their lawyers and go through all of this stuff, even if they are innocent. So it's not easy being a rich man, I guess, all the time. So, but anyway, this guy, I don't know what he had, but apparently, it was a long time before that. And this guy he has a son, and he's been estranged from his son, I guess, for a very long time, and they haven't spoken for apparently 20 years. But Jackson Hinkle, you have to see this on, it's a Jackson Hinkle and a thing, and I even wrote the name of it down. I'll try to remember to put it down in the comments. But apparently, it's now an hour. But anyway, apparently this guy's son went on some podcast with a guy that was former special forces, looked like me, has a beard and stuff, but of course he's a younger guy. I mean, I'm young and pretty, that guy, he doesn't have any gray hair. But anyway, I'm a young and pretty guy. Anyway, I'm just kidding. But this guy was a former special forces type of guy. And he's saying a lot of, he didn't do, maybe, it was a live broadcast to their detriment. So they're interviewing this guy's son, and it's supposed to show that this guy is a quack, and that there was no meeting at Fort Huachuca, that he never went on there. And this guy starts saying things that prove the opposite, even though he's a witness for their side. And it was a live thing, and the guy starts to get nervous, this special forces guy that's supposed to be covering for, for TPUSA and Erica Kirk and Alex Jones and all of these people that are trying to go after Candace Owens. So it was supposed to be a big coup d'etat against Candace Owens, but it backfired miserably. And Jackson Hinkle put a lot of that on there, on his podcast. And apparently that might even be on Candace Owens, but it's a really strange thing. YouTube does not send me any of the videos anymore of Candace Owens. I don't understand why. So I have to go look for them. Even though I'm subscribed to Candace Owens, I don't get notifications and things. But luckily I still get this thing. And it's kind of okay. Candace Owens has a lot of these long things, and it's a lot of time. So a lot of people are putting up the important things like Jackson Hinkle was doing. So he showed parts of this interview with this guy, interviewing this guy's son. I don't want to be confusing to you guys. So the guy that Candace Owens had interviewed, stepped forward and contacted Candace Owens and said what he saw, and that he's like near 100% positive. He saw Erica Kirk, and he saw this guy from TPUSA having some very secretive meeting on this military base, like 2 days before the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And this other guy from TPUSA and Alex Jones jumped in there and did his own little investigative work and said, I couldn't have been there because I was going to a different meeting, and here is my plane ticket, and shows the copy of the plane ticket. But a lot of people are pointing out, just because you have a plane ticket does not mean that you actually went on this plane. And if this was some big, high, secretive meeting of these high people, and whatever the heck was really strangely going on, maybe you can buy a plane ticket and never intend to use it just to show it as proof. It's very possible. Notwithstanding the fact that he still could have been at that meeting and gone to his other meeting. So the time constraints did not prove that he could not have been there. And even though Alex Jones is saying ironclad proof that it could not have been him there, and it's of course blown out. That's blown out. So Alex Jones, unfortunately, it's very strange. It's like inadvertently, it's like a competition between the so-called conspiracy theorist Candace Owens against the fading star of apparently Alex Jones being a conspiracy theorist and all that. And Candace Owens is like major league, and Alex Jones just went down into the minor leagues because Candace Owens just blew Alex Jones out of the water. Absolutely incredible. And like I said, I keep saying this, I said, you don't argue with Candace Owens because you're not going to win. Candace. And with the new expression, as I say, they say Candace Owens has the receipts. So the last person that I would want to get in kind of a debate or an argument with or try to shoot down, it would be Candace Owens. That's the last person. And, Alex Jones has been right very often, but Alex Jones, in my opinion, and I think even from a lot of his own supporters, has lost a lot of respect, especially since he said that Candace Owens was a friend of his, and he's like saying, "Oh, she needs care. I really love Candace Owens. She needs to go to a mental institution." Well, who needs to go to the mental institutions now? Come on, Alex, I tell you. So let's keep going. I'm getting towards the end, so bear with me. So this guy, when he got up on this thing and he was saying, they're trying to say that this guy, this Mitch guy that Candace Owens had on, was never at this military base, that it was all fabricated. And what happens is they got this guy, and unfortunately for them, it was a live broadcast. And so this guy, this son, who has no contact with his father, gets a call from the military police, apparently, of this Fort Huachuca, and he verifies that the son verifies that the police called him and said, we have somebody here, and he has you listed as his next of kin, for something. So that's why they're contacting him. Is this guy legitimate, or whatever the MPs were trying to ask of this son? So in other words, this son admitted right there on a live broadcast that his father was at Fort Huachuca. So it's absolutely incredible. When TPUSA and maybe even Alex Jones is trying to say that this is all fake, and Candace Owens is creating a bunch of this fake stuff, and she needs to go to a mental institution. So what a victory for Candace Owens. This is absolutely incredible for the truth movement, for all of us. It's like, I'm just trying to get to the fact is you have to keep your faith in Candace Owens. She's never been really shown up yet. If Candace Owens could even possibly be wrong, she will say that. But when Candace Owens says she is right, and she didn't even say she was right, she didn't even say that, but she's now proven right. And she keeps getting proven right, even a lot of times, like she's talking about these Egyptian planes that apparently were actually being leased by the government of Israel, that were following Erica Kirk around, and that's now been proven to be true. And Alex Jones was trying to ridicule her and saying, that's some ridiculous stuff online. Oh man, Alex, you really dug yourself into the minor leagues, I tell you right now, and a lot of people are going to pay a far less attention to you. I don't even know if I'm going to watch anything from Alex Jones, even though I'm sure that a lot of stuff from Alex Jones is very good, but his credibility has really been shot down big time. And Candace Owens, she's way up there in a class of her own now. Wow, incredible. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when we try to deceive, or whatever that is. Or what is it? He who digs a hole against somebody else will surely fall in it. And I don't know if it's more than just Alex Jones. It's a lot of these people, and it makes you really wonder. Candace, watch your back, big time. Big time, watch your back, and have somebody check your brakes big time, and inspect your brake cables. That was a big famous one, I think, of the Clintons. What is it? Eight of Clinton's bodyguards had some mysterious deaths. Most of the time it was their brakes went out, or committed suicide, or, oh my God, the Clinton body count. Yeah, anyway, no more to be said about that. Yes, okay, I'm getting there close. So, Fort Huachuca. And I don't know, this son, he doesn't like his father. And I think he says this stuff about Candace Owens is all ridiculous, but he just made a big mistake. Incredible. And the guy from the Special Forces that was interviewing him is like, you guys got to see that. I got to put that up, I guess. In case you didn't see that, I got to put it up in the comments. So, Candace keeps striking up victory after victory. It's absolutely incredible. And anyway, the name of Jackson Hinkle's video, in case I can't put it up, and you guys might have to search for it on YouTube, it is under Jackson Hinkle. You have to say, or maybe just type in all these words: huge fail, semicolon, Candace Owens haters prove her right. In case you want to look that up. Okay, people, that's it. It's all, gosh, I always get these same length videos almost. Anyway, and sometimes it takes like all night for me to upload them. I don't know. I'm going to try to get this up faster. If I go outside, it's at least faster here. That might be some kind of a Wi-Fi problem, and it's slow in some areas and faster in others on different days. That's a big problem, I guess. Google and Russia and Belarus and all that as well. Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining me on this one, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.